listening. So y'all know. So what we're going to do, since this is such a long study, is Anna's agreed to break it up into 2 parts. So the first part will be today. It's going to be about an hour. And so since there's so much information, I just ask that y'all can hold questions till the end. And Anna will be here for the rest of the feast, so we can also talk to her privately if we have more, detailed questions. And with that, we'll have Joyce give the opening prayer, and y'all enjoy. Come, Holy Spirit, kindle in us the fire of your love. Send forth your Spirit, and we shall be created, and you shall know the face of you. Help us to understand the teachings of the communication, and then let us make up our minds to put them into practice. All praises and glory to you. Amen. Okay, I'd like to present Anna Kennedy. I'll welcome her, please. Thank you.
Thank you. So this study is my personal journey. What I hope to share with you today through this teaching is to demonstrate Adonai's unchanging character through the study of Aaronic blessing, showing you through the scriptures how the Aaronic or the priestly blessing that is pronounced at the end of the Sabbath, oftentimes in the synagogues, at the end of the service, is a picture of the Father's unchanging character, and that the blessing is a prophetic promise to his people. The Aaronic blessing was given to Aaron, the high priest, to pronounce over the people of Israel, and I believe it was for their guidance, for their redemption, for forgiveness of sins, and for unmerited favor that we call grace today. You see, I grew up and I was taught while growing up that the law is dead. It doesn't apply to us, it is dead. And that there was absolutely no grace in the Old Testament. And that grace entered to the world through Yahshua later in the New Testament. Again, some things didn't make sense to me, and I embarked on a journey because Yahweh says, I am the same yesterday, today, and forever. So if he offers us grace today, and he is the same forever, then what happened to that grace back then? Because I was taught there was no grace. So I hope to prove today through this study, as I proved to myself, that Adonai's grace was always there from the beginning of times, and his grace was bestowed on his people Israel before actually Yeshua Messiah walked the earth in flesh. Because you see, if grace was given only at the time of physical appearance of Yeshua on earth, then it would suggest a change of character. And yet, he himself said that he does not change. So which is true? So, go ahead. So that's our look today at the prophetic picture. And there's so much, and this is just, I'm not a Hebrew scholar, and this is just my journey and my compiled teachings from other people. Not all of this is mine. So I put this all together for myself, and I hope that it will bless you. So Yahweh says that he is not a human who lies, or a mortal who changes his mind. When he says something, he will do it. When he makes a promise, he will fulfill it. That's in Numbers 23:19. In Titus 1:1-2, Shaul, Paul, Yahweh's slave and an emissary of Yeshua the Messiah, sent to promote among Yahweh's chosen people the trust and knowledge of truth which lead to godliness and which are based on the certain hope of eternal life, Yahweh, who does not lie, promised that life before the beginning of time. So this is a prophecy of Yeshua's life before the beginning of time. So now we have the evidence that grace was there before the beginning of time. There's other scriptures that tell us in Hebrews in which, and this is just a partial verse, in which it was impossible for Yahweh to lie. 1 Samuel 15:29 says, "And also the strength of Israel will not lie nor repent, for he is not a man, that he should repent." Romans 3:4 says, "Yahweh forbid. Yes, let Yahweh be true, but every man a liar." So I give a lot of scriptures because Paul says that on the testimony of 2 to 3 witnesses, a matter is established. And we have certainly more than 2 witnesses to establish the matter that Yahweh does not lie. So if Yahweh does not lie because he's not a man, and Yahweh is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and if we have grace today and forever, then Yahweh, who was the same yesterday, had to offer the same grace to his people Israel in the Old Testament as well. So in my opinion, when I have found out that grace is heavily embedded in the Aaronic blessing. And but before we dig into the blessing itself, and the text of the blessing, I would like to start with a question and have you think about what exactly is a blessing, because in our Western mindset and in our culture, we understand blessing differently than the Hebrew culture understands blessing. So before we dig into the Aaronic blessing, I'd like to dig into the meaning of the blessing itself from cultural perspective. The English dictionary meaning of blessing defines blessing as act or words of a person who blesses, a special favor, mercy, or benefit, the blessing of liberty, a favor or gift bestowed by God, the invoking of God's favor upon a person, praise, devotion, worship, especially grace said before a meal. So that is what the dictionary, English dictionary, gives us as a definition. I really like, and that's all good, I really like what, I like Pastor Hill, that he talks about blessing, and he wrote a book, The Power of a Parent's Blessing, and I'll talk about that later. He defines blessing this way: Yahweh using a human to impart his message and image of identity and destiny to the heart of another person. So think about that for a moment and what that means. The Hebrew culture understands and practices this form of blessing to this day. And a good example of this would be in Jewish homes upon opening of the Sabbath, parents bless each other and they bless their children. And I love Fiddler on the Roof, and this is a really good clip that I'd like to play you from just a version of how they do it. Just click it again. Just do it this way. I'm sorry for that. hold it.
The Lord protect and defend you. May He always shield you from shame. May you come to be in His world a shining day. May you be like Ruth and like Esther. May you be deserving of praise. Strengthen them, O Lord, and keep them from the stranger's ways. May God bless you and grant you all. May the Lord fulfill our Sabbath prayer for you. May God make you good mothers and wives. Husbands who will care for you. May the Lord protect and defend. May the Lord protect and defend. May the Lord preserve from pain. May the Lord preserve you from pain. Happiness and happiness for
So we live in a culture that is very far removed from that kind of a blessing and from the Bible. And today it is much different than in the days of patriarchs of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Today we may say that we are blessed when we have a job, when we have children, when we have family. We are blessed because we have good health. Or we may say that we are blessed because we have avoided an accident. Right? And I have another clip to show you that is, again, from Fiddler on the Roof, that speaks of a blessing in a sarcastic way. And I will demonstrate that through here.
This is also mine. Older, this is purging from here. He'll be staying the Sabbath. He's a teacher. Would you like to take lessons from him, huh? Good. I'm a very good teacher.
Heard once that the rabbi must praise himself as a congregation of one.
Your daughter has a quick and witty tongue. And the wit she gets from me, as the good book says.
The good book can wait. Get washed.
This time she gets from her mother.
Martha, you're also eating with us? Oh, of course. Another blessing.
And then we have one more clip of an application, a different application of a blessing. Sorry. I had it all set up on the PowerPoint and it didn't work. So here we go.
May I ask you a question?
Certainly, Laban.
Is there a proper blessing for the Tsar?
Blessing for the Tsar. Of course. May God bless and keep the Tsar far away from us.
just little clips to give examples. But what does it mean to bless, and what does it mean to receive a blessing? To get an idea of what blessing was and what it meant, let's start in the beginning with our patriarchs. Let's look at Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and take a journey through the scriptures of the blessing. I love a book that I read called The Blessing. It is written by Gary Smalley and John Trent, and I highly recommend it. In this book, they extract 5 elements of blessing that are 5 biblical elements of blessings that were used in the patriarchal blessing. The first one is meaningful touch, a spoken message, attaching high value for one being blessed, picturing a special future for one being blessed, and active commitment to fulfill the blessing. So now let's examine each patriarchal blessing in light of the 5 key elements. The first one is meaningful touch. In Genesis 27:26, then his father, Isaac, said to him, "Come close now and kiss me, my son." There's an example of a meaningful touch. When Jacob blessed his sons, he also his grandsons, he also laid his hands on them in Genesis 48:14. But Israel put on his right hand and laid it on the head of the younger one, Ephraim, and put his left hand on the head of Manasseh. He intentionally crossed his hands, even though Manasseh was the firstborn. So here we have an example of meaningful touch. The aspect of a touch communicates an acceptance or affirmation. The next one is a spoken message. And Yahweh spoke a blessing to Abraham. Isaac spoke blessing to Jacob. Jacob spoke blessing to all of his 12 sons and included Ephraim and Manasseh, who were his grandsons. Today, in many Jewish and Messianic homes, parents speak blessing to their children, often on Friday nights at opening of the Sabbath. The spoken message is the affirmation of love, which is the element of blessing. Today, I encounter many adults who say, "I know that my parents loved me, but I never heard them tell me." They felt that they were loved, they were certainly cared for, but verbally, parents didn't affirm their love for them. That affirmation of love is through a spoken word. Abraham, of course, spoke those blessings, and we can see how they were passed on verbally. The next one is attaching high value, which is the third element of blessing. It is usually a written words of high value. Attaching a high value in a spoken word communicates an action in a very tangible way that helps that person being blessed understand that they have great value in the eyes, and also in the eyes of the father or the parent, and also in the eyes of the Creator. Often these words would highlight a character trait or Yahweh's given talent. For example, when Yahweh blessed Abraham, he said to him, "Those who bless you will be blessed, and those who curse you will be cursed." Now, if that's not a high value spoken to a person, how many of us get that kind of a blessing? Right? So, through those words that Yahweh demonstrated his affirmation and attached a very high value to Abraham. Through him, then that blessing is passed on to Jacob and to the rest of his descendants. That's why we have to be very careful also not to say anything against Israel, because that blessing still stands today. Those who curse Israel will be cursed, and those who bless Israel will be blessed. So that is an active forever. Go to the next slide. I have a clip that shows the, I apologize for this. Isaac's blessing Jacob.
Firstborn, when you wish to I brought you the food.
Come closer. Closer, my son. Touch you.
That I prepared for you. And then you can give me your blessing.
The arm is the arm of Esau. The voice is the voice of Jacob. Are you truly my son, Esau?
I am.
Yes, you are truly Esau. God give you the dew of heaven, the riches of the earth, grain, new wine in plenty. May people serve you and nations bow down to you. May you be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be those who curse you, and a blessing on those who bless you.
Long or short. Sorry about that. We know how to improvise. Yes.
Okay, so the next part of blessing is picturing a special future. And in Scripture, the blessing was also a time for a parent or loved one to assure a person of Yahweh's blessing on their future. For example, in Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares Adonai, plans for welfare and not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope." And Yahweh spoke of a special future to Abraham. "I will make you into a great nation. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse." And we can see that blessing being passed on to Isaac, from Isaac to Jacob, because at the end, it's the same repetition. Exactly. So that continues. The fifth and last element of a blessing, it involves a active commitment. It's an action. Active commitment is an action that places responsibility on the parent or the loved one who is doing the blessing. For the patriarchs, not only their words, but Yahweh himself stood behind the blessing. Words alone cannot communicate the blessing. The blessing needs to be backed by commitment to do everything possible to help the one being blessed be successful. So, I just want to go through a few questions because, just a quick review. Did not Adonai stand behind his blessing to Abraham when he promised Abraham to give him the promised land? Did not Adonai give Abraham and Sarah a son, and through that son Isaac did Abraham become a father of many nations? Did not Adonai help Isaac to carry out the blessing when he became the father of Jacob and Esau? Did not Adonai stand behind Jacob, Israel, and still stands today to deliver his people? The answer is resounding yes to all of the above questions. And Adonai is not done yet. So how does this have any relationship to the Aaronic blessing? Everything. All of the above are encompassed in the Aaronic blessing and more. So let's go to it and examine. As I have said, this is just a repetition to prove that Adonai really does not change his mind. He does not change. He fulfills everything that he says. What he says he will do, he will indeed do. He is the same. So in Numbers 6:22-27, Adonai said to Moshe, "Speak to Aaron and his sons and tell them that this is how you are to bless the people of Israel. You are to say to them, Yivarechacha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May Adonai bless you and keep you. Yer Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. May Adonai make his face shine upon you and show you his favor. Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'asem lecha shalom. May Adonai lift up his face towards you and give you peace. In this way they are to put my name on the people of Israel so that I will bless them." So now we can go ahead and look at the blessing, and we can see that at first glance we have 6 areas. Bless and keep, face shine, his face shine, be gracious, lift up his face and give peace. But in Hebrew, Tim Hegg of Torah Resource proposes a different approach. In Hebrew, the word "and" is really a letter Vav, and Vav is a connector. So it's not separate things, it's together. So if we ignore the "and" and remove it, it's really only 3 sections. First of all, in our English translations, we lose a lot of the meanings. And I just want to point out that the blessing translated in English has very abstract form words. What does it mean to keep? What does it mean to bless? What does it mean to have his face shine? To be gracious? Those are all abstract terms. But in Hebrew, we have a different intent because there's an action attached. And we have a better picture, not just abstract words, but an action, a verb form. So the word bless in Hebrew is barak. It's Strong's H1288, and it's meaning to bless, to kneel. Why kneel? Why the word bless is attached to the word kneel? Because it is related to the noun barak, which is Strong's H1290, and it means a knee. So to bless, barak, in the action form, would be barak, to knee, or to adore on bended knee. So now to bless means to kneel. Next one. Next one. Okay. I'll back up, sorry. So to kneel, to adore on bended knee, it's also related to a gift or a present. We see certainly the Magi's coming in and presenting gifts with visiting to the Messiah. lost the place. So that means to bless and to keep. To keep is the Hebrew word shamar. It's Strong's number 8104, which literally means to keep guard, keep watch, and the word protect, save life. A related word to guard is shamir, and it means a thorn. When the shepherds would shepherd the sheep, they would build this area oftentimes out of the thorn bushes to protect the sheep, to keep things out, wolves, whatever other animals that would attack them. There's also an interesting relationship, because when the Father tells us, keep my commandments, it's the same word, shamar. Okay? So he puts a hedge of protection over us, but we are also to keep hedge of protection over his commandments in the same way, which I think it's kind of a neat visual. Now, we in our own power and strength cannot keep watch over ourselves from evil. We are called to shamar and keep his commandments, and with his help, he will protect us from danger. He will guard us. That's what he said in Exodus. Now, if you will pay careful attention to what I say and keep my covenant, then you will be my own treasure from among all the people, for all the earth is mine. And in Exodus 24:17 says, then he took the book of the covenant and read it aloud, so that the people could hear, and they responded, everything that Adonai has spoken we will do and obey. But they didn't. We know the golden calf incident where they have broken the commandment. So no matter how much strength we possess to keep, to shamar his commandments and his covenant, we are in great need to be guarded from the attacks of the enemy. We face dangers on an ongoing basis in a physical and spiritual sense. Adonai, as our heavenly Father, bends his knee and blesses us and guards us. Jeff Benner points out that with this more Hebraic concept of Hebrew words, we can now read the beginning of the Aaronic blessing this way. So we know it as Adonai bless you and keep you, but with that deeper understanding, it says, Yahweh will kneel before you, presenting gifts, and will guard you with a hedge of protection. We have abstract form, and then we have Hebrew blessing and the intent behind it. This is a translation from the Hebrew Research Center by Jeff Benner. There is another connection that I have found. This is from a rabbi, and I thought to include that because it's kind of cool that I didn't think of it. You can take it or leave it. Keep and watch in Hebrew, Yivarecha ve'ishmerecha, to bless and to keep or guard. Actually, he boils those two words down to the word rehem, meaning a womb, which rehem is derived from the word raham, and it literally means to love deeply, have mercy, be compassionate, have tender affection, to have compassion and be compassionate. When you think about it, everybody, with a child in the womb, what does that womb do? It nurtures, it protects, it feeds the baby. It is completely taken care of, so the baby can grow and develop and be healthy. So, going with the word womb, he makes a relationship to the word mercy and compassion. As we can see, it's the same letters. So what does it mean to love and to have compassion? Compassion to bless as to keep watch or guard. So going back to the mountain when Moses went to get the 10 Commandments, it says, Moshe cut 2 stone tablets like the first, and he got up early in the morning, and with the 2 stone tablets in his hands, ascended to Mount Sinai, and Adonai had ordered him to do. Adonai descended in the cloud, stood with him there, and pronounced the name of Adonai. Adonai passed before him and proclaimed, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. Adonai is God, merciful and compassionate, slow to anger, rich in grace and truth, showing grace to the 1,000th generation, forgiving offenses, crimes, and sins, yet not exonerating the guilty, but causing the negative effects of the parents' offenses to be experienced by their children and grandchildren, and even to the 3rd and 4th generations. At once Moshe bowed his head to the ground, prostrated himself. So do you see the relationship between Yahweh's unchanging character? He could have destroyed all of his people right there on the spot, all the children of Israel right there and then. And also, there is a relationship, but he didn't. And there is a relationship with the words, when we put that into the Strongs, where you can see where it says merciful, it's rahum. And that is related to the womb, to the word raham. That's, I just found that very interesting, that there's just like these levels that we don't often associate with the protection. So, and the third part, so the second part now, we can look at and examine where it says, Adonai make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. So what does it mean to have Adonai's face shine upon us? The word face is panim. It means face. And panim, when taken to a verb form, panav, if I hope I'm saying that correctly, means to turn towards. So shine in Hebrew is or, I think, and it's Strong's number 215. And as a noun, it means light, but as a verb, it means to give light, because there's always an action, or to shine. So throughout the Bible, light is often a metaphor for Yahweh's word. For example, in Proverbs 6:23, it says, for the commandment, mitzvot, is a lamp, and the law, Torah, a light. Reproofs of instruction are the way of life. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119, 105. The entrance of your words gives light. It gives understanding to the simple. Psalm 119, 130. So when the sages see light in this blessing, one of the conclusions is that this blessing has to do with the word, specifically the Torah. So when we now put that understanding into the second benediction, it would read like this. Yahweh will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards you, bringing order, and he will beautify you. And the last part is Adonai lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Again, countenance is another abstract word. So the word face again is panim. Face written in plural. The word face can also mean presence or wholeness of being. What is peace? Peace in Hebrew, when people greet each other, has a lot of meanings. It means completeness, soundness, welfare, peace, completeness in number, safety, soundness in body, welfare, health, prosperity, peace, quiet, tranquility, contentment, peace, and friendship. It's certainly a lot more than just peace that we know from the 60s. Okay. So the last part of the blessing where it says, Adonai lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace, if we plug in the action behind that, with the Hebrew understanding, we will have Yahweh will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon you, and he will set in place all you need to be whole and complete. So now we have the action behind the whole abstract English forms. In the first part, if we examine it in three separate parts, the first part of the blessing would speak to our material needs, to our sustenance. Yahweh is kneeling before us and presenting us with gifts. He's guarding us with a hedge of protection. So it has to do with our physical being, physical needs. The second part, Yahweh will cause his wholeness of being to shine towards you, bringing order, and he will provide you with love, sustenance, and friendship, has to do with our social acceptance, our social needs, when you look at it in that way. And the third one, where he says, Yahweh will fill up his wholeness of being and look upon you, and he will set in place all you need to be whole and complete, has to do with our emotional tranquility, with our emotional being. So he is taking, that's it. We're gonna stop here at that first part. So that's all I have on that part.
That's awesome. Are you open for questions now, or?
Sure, I can try.
Might have got a little shaky because I was starting to.
Does anybody have any questions, or? Okay. Well, we can. Chris, would you close us out in a prayer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Don't need that? Why not? I have to have it.
Heavenly Father, Yahweh, thank you for bringing us all together today. Thank you for Anna for sharing this Bible study with us, and may it bless us, and may it open our minds to more of Yahweh's Word, and giving us the wisdom and the knowledge that we need for each day that he gives us. Thank you so much for all of our blessings, and thank you for this Feast of Unleavened Bread, and just bringing us all together to learn more about each other and learn more about your Word. Please bless us the rest of this day, and until we meet again, thank you in Yahshua's name. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.